Hello, welcome to this week's journal entry. In this episode, you are going to learn how to wake up happy without a morning routine. This is not the episode for routines. I am definitely a routine person and love them and can talk way more about them, but I don't believe that you need a specific or any morning routine in order to wake up happy. And I also know that people are craving to wake up happy and inspired and intentional and joyful, no matter what time your alarm is set for. So that's what we're going to get into today. And this is actually inspired not just by something that I hear in conversations in my Instagram inbox quite frequently, but one of my private clients, Jordan, she specifically told me once that she just wants to wake up happy and light without the burdens from the day before. And she said, it's like I start the day behind mentally from the day before. And when she said that, I know what that feels like. It just like brought me back to going to bed at night and like having my lists play on repeat and just thinking of all of the things and then waking up thinking of all of the things. And it just kind of felt like this like Groundhog's Day almost. And so I am going to help you do that. I'm going to help you wake up happier and inspired. And what you need is to be intentional about the hours before you go to bed and the hour that you wake up. So that time slot right before bed and before you wake up, not in a routine sense, but just what you are doing in that time and being really intentional with it. So before getting into the 3 tips that I have for you, I do have a journal prompt for you right off the bat. And this is to help you think about why you're not waking up happy. So just journal on why is it that I'm waking up feeling XYZ, however it is that you're feeling, maybe exhausted all the time or burdened or depressed or unhappy, whatever it is that you're feeling. Why do you think that is? Maybe it's because you feel like you're not getting enough sleep. You are stressed and have so much going on in your life. Your brain is on overdrive because of the thoughts and the tasks that you just are constantly thinking of at night. Maybe you feel like you are not waking up happy because of the fact that it takes you so freaking long to fall asleep, or you're waking up in the middle of the night. So just brain dump on what is it that is getting in the way of waking up in a better mood. If you can get clear on that why so that you're aware of it, you will no longer be unconsciously telling yourself of the other things, unconsciously telling yourself that you know that you're going to get a bad night's sleep tonight, and so you're just not looking forward to going to bed. Or you know you're going to wake up exhausted in the morning, and so you have this like negative mindset and negative expectations around sleep and bedtime and the morning. With awareness, you can begin to uncover it and address it and change it and feel better. If awareness and living more intentionally is something that you are working on, consider joining me in my free 5-day journaling workshop series. It's next week, and it's where I'm going to be guiding you through just a couple prompts during lunchtime or evening. I haven't decided yet, but just 20 to 30 minutes each day, Monday through Friday of next week, that will help you gain clarity and understanding of what you're going through, like knowing the answers to any decisions that you've been hemming and hawing over, feeling centered and inspired and hopeful, and waking up happy every single day. So just a little plug for that. The link for that to join will be in my show notes. But let's get into the tips that I have for you on how to wake up happy. The first is that sleep quantity and sleep quality are both very real. Some people just need more sleep than others. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep, is what they say. Although some people thrive off of like 6 hours of sleep, or I've even had friends that tell me that they only need 5 hours of sleep, but then other people might need as much as 10 hours of sleep. The more consistent that you can be with your sleep and wake times, the better, because it's all linked to our circadian rhythm. The main process regulating our sleep is that circadian rhythm, which is essentially like an internal clock for our natural melatonin production. Our bodies want to be on a cycle that it recognizes. It doesn't like when we're going to bed at all different times and waking up at all different times. And so if you stay consistent with whatever time that you choose, your body will start to naturally get tired around the same time each night. I've definitely experienced that where I am up later than usual for one reason or another. And then suddenly it doesn't seem so late. Whereas the first few nights I'm like yawning and like so exhausted. And then it starts to feel normal. Or the opposite too. If I start to go to bed earlier, I'm yawning at like 8:30, ready to go to bed, even though I go to bed a little bit later. Another approach that I've seen to understand the amount of time that your body needs is to go to bed at your normal time, pick a consistent time and just go to bed at that time. And then sleep until your body naturally wakes up for 5 to 7 days. And that will show you the amount of time or the average amount of time that you need in order to wake up refreshed. And they do the average because the first time that you do it, either you'll wake up early just because you're accustomed to that, or you'll sleep in later because like finally you're allowed to sleep longer and get some more sleep. So taking the average of the amount of sleep that you have for 5 to 7 days. This is a little tough because not everybody has that amount of time to play around with this. I did do it once when my son was visiting his dad. And I think that the perfect amount of hours for me is like 9 hours of sleep. I could even sleep longer than that, but 9 hours is when I wake up. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to start the day. So if you can, come up with the number of hours that you need, knowing that this can be tough for parents because so far we've talked about the quantity of sleep, but the quality of sleep is so important. And interrupted sleep can make you feel delirious and change your sleep patterns and just make you show up differently. I have had a lot of experience with interrupted sleep. One time in my life was for 1 year, my son and I co-slept. When I hear co-sleeping, I think like, oh, that's so sweet. You get to snuggle with your babies and it's like this fun, relaxing time. That was not my experience. It took my son 1 to 2 hours to fall asleep in my bed. But those 1 to 2 hours was after we did our bedtime routine, after we read our books, and he was either up jumping around on my bed or just screaming, saying that he didn't want to go to sleep. It was like it was an argument for 1 to 2 hours. At least it felt like that internally, just being like, go to sleep. During that year, I did not have any personal time because he was going to bed with me. He would usually wake up with me. And I didn't change anything else about like my nutrition or exercise or work life or anything. And I gained 7 to 10 pounds and I just felt off during the day. So that was even, it was quality sleep when I was sleeping because at least he was sleeping through the night when he was with me. But just that uninterrupted time and the stress around going to bed, it just felt so off. But even with that routine, I still woke up happy. And so focusing on the quality of sleep, even if you can't get the quantity of you want, will still be helpful. So after identifying the amount of sleep that you need, then look at what you're doing before bed. We all know that screens aren't ideal, right? And so here's just your tiny tidbit of a reminder to put your phone down before you're in bed. Turn the TV off at least an hour before bed is what they recommend, but just turn off the screens. And if you are like my client, Jordan, who I mentioned earlier, and you are constantly going to bed thinking of your task list and what didn't get done and all of your shortcomings of that day and what you have to do the next day, all the things, it's no wonder that you go to sleep and you wake up feeling stressed, that you wake up already feeling behind because that's the emotional and mental state that you fell asleep in. So you're like subconsciously thinking about all of that as you're sleeping and then waking up with all of that. So my next tip is to do a brain dump list before bed. What this is a list in your journal where you jot down anything that's on your mind. It can be those tasks that we keep talking about because they're just never ending. Or maybe it's a conversation that you had that you're still thinking about or judging yourself for or wondering if it could have gone differently. Jot down any feelings or ideas, even what you're if you're thinking about like what you're eating the next day, like what dinner are you going to make? What are you going to offer your kids for lunch and breakfast? Jot those things down, even goals for the next day or just bigger goals and dreams that you want to work towards. Whatever it is on your mind already, just do a brain dump and jot that down. Then release it from your mind, knowing that you already have it all written down and you can review it in the morning if you want to, right? Because once you jot it down, those things aren't going to just go away. Like you still will need to plan dinner for the next day. You have to do those tasks that you wrote down and you'd like to, take action on the ideas that you have. But since you've written it down, whether it's in a bulleted list or maybe you wrote paragraphs for each one of those things, you have it stored so that when your mind inevitably, you're trying to fall asleep and it thinks of one of those things because you're just so used to doing that, it's an intentional practice to be aware that, oh, my to-do list just popped in my head. I don't need to think of this right now. I know that I can think of it tomorrow if I want to, and I can open up my journal and relook at what it is that I need to do. But at this point, I don't need to worry about this. And intentionally choosing something else to think of. When it was taking my son 1 to 2 hours to fall asleep, he was saying that he didn't know how to fall asleep and he couldn't close his eyes. And so I shared with him a tip that I use to try and fall asleep, which is I close my eyes and I pick something about my day that I enjoyed and I just replay it in my head, whether it was an experience or if I was just eating a really great meal or if I was petting my cat, anything that I enjoyed. And I just think about it and then in detail, and then it just kind of transforms into a dream and then it turns into something else. So I was walking him through that. So you can think of that if you need something to think about. Just think of something else that happened during the day that you did enjoy or that you liked or you got some rest and just replay that until it kind of bubbles over into a dream. The next thing to consider in order to wake up happy is what time you set your alarm for. More specifically, actually waking up at that time, telling yourself why you want to wake up at that time and get excited for it. This is something that I've been doing because I am a big snoozer. I press snooze. Oh my God. Even this week, I've been pressing it like 6 times. 2 days in a row, I pressed it 6 times. And then you just, even that alone, you wake up and you're like frustrated that you just did that. But intentionally, some nights, I should do it every night, I actively choose to tell myself I'm setting my alarm for 5:30 because I want to set my alarm for 5:30, not because I need to or I have to, but I want to. And that alone makes me want to follow through. I even tell myself, like, remember this version of Sam who is setting her alarm for this time, knowing she wants to get up at this time. Wake up for her, wake up for this version, not for the exhausted version in the morning. I saw this example in a blog that I read. She asked, how fast will you jump out of bed tomorrow morning if you knew you had to catch a flight to your most favorite world destination? I bet you will barely sleep and then rush through everything just to make sure you are on that plane. You will set 5 different alarms, make sure that you are up. And then she said, while we don't always get to fly to nice destinations, it's a good example of how the events of the next day are important to your morning attitude. So if you have a trip, you can get excited for that. But can you try a new workout and choose to get excited for that? Can you make an exciting breakfast that you've been wanting to try because you saw it on TikTok or on Instagram? Do you know that you're meeting up with coworkers for happy hour? And so before work, you're waking up extra early to shower and do your hair. Is there a new book that you want to start reading? Is there a new brand of coffee that you want to try? If you do have a morning routine, switch it up and try a new one. If you're not excited to wake up in the morning and do that routine, either do the same routine but just out of order, switch it up, make it exciting, or add something new to it and make it fresh and exciting. Or are there business goals that you have that you want to do and start early? So whatever it is, think of something and make it bigger than it is and choose to feel excited for that. My last tip for you is to create your own inspiration list. This is a list of things to do sometime in the morning that will make you smile or inspired. I wake up feeling happy a lot of the time, but then there was a time right before my divorce, so this all makes sense, but I was just like in a fog and going through the motions, and I felt like I had no energy. And I would just go through the motions until my son would go down for a nap. And then I'd feel so uninspired that I would also nap during that time versus cross things off my to-do list because I had a million things to do, right? And I just felt like blah. And so I created a notes in my notes app and I titled it Sam's Intentional Inspiration List. And one day I just was jotting down things that I liked that inspired me or that just like put me in a good mood. And I told myself that I would pick one of those things to do in the morning. And this could be as soon as you wake up, or it could be for me, I feel like I did it around 10 a.m. So kind of like when my happiness started to go down and I started getting tired. What was on my list were these things: watch YouTube motivational videos, participate in a course. So I was doing a course at the time. It was a business course, but it had a lot of mindset work to it. So participate in that. YouTube Tony Robbins priming or dancing meditations, listen to a podcast. And then I even wrote out specific podcasts that I knew inspired me at the time. And one of them was Trent Shelton. I could work out. I could sip tea and listen to positive affirmations. I could journal or I could read. And I wrote out specific books that I would want to read. I wrote down Think Like a Monk, The Audacity to Be Queen, and Untamed. I wrote down those specific books and specific podcasts and the specific course that I was doing so that when I looked at this list, I didn't have to think at all. I could just pick and know exactly, okay, I'm going to read this book, or I'm going to do this workout, or I'm going to listen to this meditation. So it made me do it that much more because I had no decision fatigue. It was just like, do this one thing. And a lot of those things only took like 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. And then if I wanted to do another thing, I could do it, but I only told myself to choose one of those things. And usually that was enough to like get me back inspired and feeling good and accomplishing what it is that I wanted to accomplish that day or at least that hour. So my question to you, what can you do that would inspire you? Whether it's right after you wake up again or your 10 a.m. break, what would keep your happy juices flowing and remind you that you're up for a reason, that it's going to be a good day, and remind you of your intentions for the day, whether it is that you want to be productive at work or you're going for that promotion or you are launching your own thing for the very first time and really excited about that. What are those things that you can do? So now you know exactly how to wake up happy. And you also have my tip of the brain dump list, which is something you can do anytime, but doing it right before bed is so effective because it is that release for you to figuratively take things out of your brain onto paper and just leave it. And you can come back to it the next day if you want to. But that is so effective in helping you fall asleep quicker and getting a better quality of sleep and being emotionally more aware and happy and stable almost. Like I just picture you getting to this point of responding versus reacting to things. And you just feel like an observer to a lot of the things that are on your plate and that you're writing down. You no longer feel like a victim or like tied to it. Like you're kind of flapping in the wind based on whatever your list is and whatever other people need you to do. Just jotting it down gives you that space and awareness that you can then process it the next day. If that is something that you're interested in learning the processing and getting to that point, that's where my challenge for next week of the 5-day journaling workshops would be perfect for you because that's what we go into. So tune into that. It's completely free. You do just need to sign up and register, and then you'll get the link to it every single day, as well as a recording of the prompts every single day. And if you are listening to this after April 15th to 19th, still click on the link in the show notes and you can get a recording of this whole week. So super excited for it. To recap, your journal prompts are also in the show notes, but they are: why do you think that you are not waking up happy right now? Why are you waking up early? And this is something that you could just intentionally think of at nighttime when you set your alarm. And thirdly, what can you do that would inspire you? Create your own intentional inspiration list. I'm so excited for you to wake up happy and would love for you to check in with me over on Instagram at samantha.s.says and let me know how you feel by doing this brain dump list and setting your alarm and actually being excited to wake up in the morning and how it all plays out for you.